Yo, boxing aficionados. What's up? What's going on? Hey, yo, check this out. Let's talk about on the eve of CONCEICAO versus Foster. Let's talk about that fight a little bit. What does Foster have to do to be champion again against Robertson CONCEICAO, and what does Robertson CONCEICAO have to do to keep that belt? So I believe that, of course, Foster's going to have to recognize, or does recognize, hopefully gets recognized, that he has to be more active. He has to engage Robertson CONCEICAO, fight him with a lot more urgency. Stop trying to be Mr. Cool, Mr. Slick, Mr. I'm just gonna outbox you and show you my boxing skills, because clearly that didn't work for you the last time, right? So he's gonna have to go out there and look to hurt Robertson CONCEICAO. I really believe that that's what he's going to have to do, or at least that's what he's going to feel he has to do, because he's not going to want a chance leaving it in the hands of the judges this time around. He's going to expect the same Robertson CONCEICAO that came at him last time, which was a guy who was coming forward, which is antithetic to Robertson CONCEICAO's natural style. He's more of a boxer, but he became a brawler that fight, which is exactly what they say you have to do when fighting a master boxer, or rather a boxer. You have to be the brawler and pressure the boxer. So Robertson CONCEICAO actually applied that adage, that that method on Foster, or Shaki Foster, and came away with the victory. Like I said before on my previous video on this fight, I saw no controversy with the fight being awarded to Robertson CONCEICAO, and that's something that Timothy Bradley agreed with, actually. Timothy Bradley, in last week's episode of the show they do on the ESPN, actually said he looked at the fight again upon getting in his house and rewatched the fight and saw that Robertson CONCEICAO pressured that fight, man. He made the fight. He came forward. So at the very least, you can see why a judge would give it to Robertson CONCEICAO, for kind of like the same reasons they gave the fight to Better Beef, except Better Beef did a lot better job of getting to Bivol than CONCEICAO did in getting to Foster. Nevertheless, the overall theory applies the same, which is you come forward, turn it into a brawl, and pressure the boxer. But here is the thing. I don't think Robertson CONCEICAO should do the same thing in the rematch. I think it would be a mistake for Robertson CONCEICAO to fight Shaki Foster the same way he did the first fight. I believe that Robertson CONCEICAO should now box more and let Shaki Foster come forward and fight Shaki Foster the same way that he fought Oscar Valdez in their fight. Because I believe that Robertson CONCEICAO won his fight against Oscar Valdez. I believe that he put it on Oscar Valdez, actually. He put it on Oscar Valdez. He tagged him and made him look silly at times. And and threw a lot more punches, especially in the beginning of the fight, that against Oscar Valdez than O'Shaquie Foster threw against him in their first fight. Okay, so again, just to recap what I just said, I believe in this rematch. Robeson CONCEICAO, or rather O'Shaquie Foster, has to, and rightfully so, he's going to feel the pressure in analyzing what went wrong after analyzing what went wrong in the first fight. And he's going to feel the pressure to do away with all that cool master boxer stuff that he was doing and just get to throwing more punches, which is what lost him the fight in the first fight. If he is honest with himself, if his team is honest with him, with their fighter, and he's objectively looks at that fight and looks at tape, he must see that, or he must see why the judges gave it to Robeson CONCEICAO. If he's not the type of person that can see that, then he's in for a rude awakening. But I believe that he is. He looks like he's hell-bent, especially the way he was staring at Robeson CONCEICAO in the weigh-in. Looks like he's about to bring the heat. Robeson CONCEICAO has to not meet that heat with more heat, but meet it with guile. He's got to turn with guile. He has to turn himself into the fighter that won the Olympic gold for Brazil. He has to box and box and box well, and the man can box well. Like I said, I believe he outboxed Oscar Valdez. He has to do what he did to Oscar Valdez. If he does that, he will win against against O'Shaquie Foster, because the difference is that when he fought Oscar Valdez, Oscar was the bigger name. Oscar Valdez was the bigger name. They fought in Phoenix. He's the house fighter. He was, he got the nod. And they didn't give Robeson CONCEICAO his just due scores or credit for the work that he did against Oscar Valdez. Like I said, I'm going to repeat it. I believe he won that fight. At least 7-5. And he didn't get the nod. But I believe if he shows up and does that against O'Shaquie Foster, he will get the decision. He will get the decision because O'Shaquie Foster is not a name. It's not the name that Oscar Valdez is. And this is not, in New York is not his hometown. Like it was, like Phoenix was for Oscar Valdez. So that's how I see the fight, right? On a personal level, I would like to see Robeson CONCEICAO win, like on a rooting level. I would like to see him win. I believe the man deserves it. I also would find it interesting if O'Shaquie Foster wins, but neither of that, it's neither here nor there at the end of the day, because both of them, no matter who the winner is food for Navarrete. And this is what I see Top Rank setting up. They're fighting this weekend. What is it, November 2nd, November 3rd, right? This tomorrow night. Oscar Valdez and Navarrete versus Valdez is taking place about 4 weeks from now. So they're in the timeline to come back in about 6 months, probably about March, and pit the winner of CONCEICAO versus CONCEICAO versus Oshaki Foster against the win of Navarrete Valdez. Now, the Navarrete Valdez fight is really a tune-up for Navarrete. It's a reward. It's a reward for him moving up to 135, taking a chance because they wanted to make the do the Navarrete versus Lomachenko fight for unification. They were trying to feed him to Lomachenko, and that's why they put him up against Baranchuk or whatever the other Ukrainian. But he lost at 135. For Navarrete, was a win-win situation. He didn't lose anything by losing at 135 because he never dropped the 130 belt. He moved up, found out that his power does not go up to 135 at the moment. And hopefully that'll now make him more serious about making weight at 130 and train harder for that, because Navarrete is a hell of a fighter. I think, at least for now, 130 is the apex of his power to weight ratio. I don't believe that he can do what makes him effective at 130 will not work for him at 135 because those guys are bigger. They're not going to be intimidated by his size or his length as far as reach. You know, they can deal with that. And some of those guys at 135 should really be 140 pounders, 147 pounders. Some of those are real freaks. And Navarrete's not that. Navarrete, if he were to be more disciplined, could probably still make 126, really, if he was about that life like that. But 130 is his sweet spot, you know. And so this is a tune-up because Oscar Valdez is not going to do anything against Navarrete. He's not going to figure that guy out. Oscar Valdez is Oscar Valdez. And I know he's trained by Eddie Reynoso, but he ain't gonna teach that horse a new trick. Not a trick to fight Navarrete. Navarrete put on a boxing clinic against Oscar Valdez, and I believe that now coming back down to 130 from 135, he's gonna have more power now. That's what I believe, and this time he might even stop Oscar Valdez. He might even stop him. I don't know why people thought that Navarrete was a repeat of Valdez Burchell. Navarrete doesn't fight anything like Burchell, and he's very hard to prepare for. Now, one could argue that maybe seeing him the second time around, Valdez would be better prepared for Navarrete, but I don't believe so. I believe that Navarrete is also seeing Oscar Valdez the second time around, and unless he takes him completely for dismisses him, takes him lightly, and just doesn't train well or doesn't take him seriously. If Navarrete, that's the only way Navarrete would lose. But coming off a loss, I don't think he's going to take any fight that he's in lightly. He's going to want to keep that belt because that's his lifeline, his money. And like I said before, Valdez, whether Oshaki Foster or CONCEICAO win, they're both food for Navarrete. Interestingly enough, I want to see the CONCEICAO Navarrete rematch, would probably be another tune-up for Navarrete. If Oshaki Foster ends up beating if Oshaki Foster ends up beating beating CONCEICAO, let's say he stops him or he pulls it all out, that would be pretty interesting. That would be pretty interesting. I think it would be more meaningful for Navarrete to beat an Oshaki Foster, because when you're a Mexican fighter, what you want is to beat a slick black fighter. To beat a slick black fighter or a champion and put him on your resume, right? That's like a big deal to Mexicans, and vice versa. For black fighters, you beat a good or a great Mexican name, that's a big deal for you. You know, that whole the African American boxers world and the Mexican American or the Mexican fighter, it's they're intertwined. They're intertwined and help to build each other. Except Mexicans can do that also with Puerto Rican fighters. You know, that's like their apex, their big foe or whatever, their nemesis. But yeah, that's what'll happen. That would be an interesting fight. I would still pick Navarrete over both. CONCEICAO is a tune-up. If Foster wins, I believe Navarrete beats him too. Anyway, that's enough for me on that subject. It is what it is, and it ain't what it ain't. This is the Filthy Casual for boxing aficionados, baby. Peace. I'm out.